Calling our Charlotte Select Board meeting to order, Monday, June 25th, 2018. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
Yeah, I want to add an executive session to discuss our meeting, Frank and my meeting with Krasnow's this morning regarding K&R properties.
Okay, so we'll do that at the end so we don't hold anybody up.
Sure.
Okay. Any public comment? Yes, hi Lisa.
Here's our documents, we're done.
Oh,
Our
wow.
lawsuit, so.
No.
I know, crazy. But I have to be careful because I always say the wrong thing, so. It's legally permissible for the Old Lantern as a non-conforming use, allowing a year-round event facility, hosting events indoors and outdoors, finally. And that's a copy of the decision, and there's also an excerpt just explaining the decision because it's really long. What we're asking is for the select board to request that the clerk and the planning and zoning office provide a copy of the summary, because the actual decision is really long, but the summary provided by the judge gives like highlights of the decision on anyone inquiring or purchasing, renting, or occupying property in the vicinity of the Old Lantern. This request is being made to avoid the same type of conflict that occurred in the past with the new owners, renters, or occupants claiming they were not aware of the Old Lantern operations. The clerk or staff do not need to make any comment except to provide a copy of the judge's decision and tell the person that they should be aware of the court decision. And basically what it says is that that we're since 1960, we're allowed to continue doing all of the things on record that the Old Lantern has ever done since 1960. No new, we can't go build a 5-story anything or, anything that the Old Lantern has ever done historically. And we provided the judge with 1,500 events that happened since 1960. So those are all on court. They're all filed with the court. That they can go and look if they want. But,
So let me ask you if I understand. You want this to be on the record for the Old Lantern?
it would be nice if somebody coming to purchase property, doing title searches or information on property between the Old Lantern and Ferry Road. There's currently, I think there's 3 or 4 homes just in that small area on the market right now, and potentially more. So to avoid that situation, because it was the last 2.5 years for us, it was about $150,000. The town, I'm sure you paid, probably under $100,000.
Ours wasn't that much, but we supported it.
And then the neighbors thinking that they had a case. The new people moving into town, I don't believe they would have spent that much money if they thought they didn't, if it was a possibility. And they were unaware, right? They weren't from Vermont. They weren't aware, and they were advised by an attorney that that was a good idea. So, obviously before we didn't have any definitive decision. It just kind of was something that the town's kind of always zoned around us, but now we know we have it, it's on the court, it's on record. It also will not be appealed. The decision, it was settled, and they will not be appealing the decision.
So is this something the zoning wants for the record? Does it go in the vault? I mean,
I don't know. Well, Liam's going to come and do a filing affiliated with the Old Lantern property.
okay.
But if somebody comes to town and says, what is that big barn down the street? They have, the town has a document to hand them and say, that's what this is. not the whole decision, like the neighbor fighting neighbor, but, I'm sorry.
I'm not sure if that's a good idea, because then all of a sudden it puts the burden on the town to notify everybody of everything that happens everywhere on somebody's property.
Yeah, do you have any type of a piece of
document?
Yeah, it's the judge's decision.
I mean, I'm sure it can be available if somebody asks, but to,
Yeah, oh, I'm saying if somebody comes and says, what's that big red barn? And they hand this.
I understand, but I still think Vermont's a buyer beware state, and to the best of my knowledge, the town's not responsible to advise anybody about activities or approved or otherwise on any piece of property, and to officially start that program would make me leery.
Well,
I would certainly want to,
I think it's more of a problem, the amount of money that the town has spent on their attorneys protecting their decisions based on the old lantern, and in the after-the-fact kind of method, rather than saying, I'm only saying, like, if somebody comes and says,
We have to move
What-
on. This wasn't on the
Okay.
agenda.
Oh,
We
sorry.
can bring it up again. Do you have a quick comment on
I
that?
have a quick comment.
Yeah?
It's your decision if you would like to have this recorded at the town, in the town, and it can easily be recorded in the land records.
yes,
And if this is the short version that you would like recorded,
yes.
it's $10 a page to record, and it's there. And when people go into title search, they're going to find it, because they will, in their search,
That's all
they'll
I'm
look at the old
asking, Mary.
lantern, and
Thank you.
voila.
but we're not going to be offering it when somebody comes
No,
in.
but it's in the land records.
But it will be,
So
yeah,
find it
the
in the
decision will
title
be
search.
recorded, yeah.
Yeah, that's all I think, Mary. Thanks.
So, since it wasn't warned, we ought to put it on the agenda and then make a motion to do that. You
Well,
agree?
it'll be, you don't have to do anything.
She can come see us tomorrow.
And just do it?
They'll just-
Okay,
They'll just record it, and it'll be in the recorded
Okay.
in the records.
Okay.
okay. Thank you.
Very much.
Yep, thank you. Glad for you.
Any other public comments? Select board updates? I have a few.
What do we want to, there's a, I don't know if it's really an update. There was an issue with our paving
Okay.
price, that we have typically given the low bidder a maximum amount of money to spend. And our paving contractor this time used was awarded the contract because of the low per unit cost. But they had a completely different estimate that they worked off of. They claimed they put it in with their bid, although it was not in the bid. And upon finishing the paving, they said, the cost is $307,000 instead of 234, is it? 235. I find, this, it's kind of hard to figure out. Well, it's easy to understand why this happened. I mean, because they were working off their budget and we were working off our budget, and anytime there was verbal communication, when we would say, are we doing okay on our budget? They'd say, yeah, we're fine. But they had a different document that they didn't give us. And VCAM showed that it wasn't presented at the bid opening, and the copy they have was never signed by the town. Town only signed their own agreement with the per ton price. Yeah, I think bottom line, if push comes to shove, the material's on the ground, the work was done, it's pretty hard to avoid paying somebody that. But I'm not happy with paying them the whole amount, so we'll.
So there's a couple of questions. Did they see our budget? You said you verbalized it, but they've got a document of their budget. Did they see our budget other than the per ton agreement?
Not that I know of. If
Okay.
they see it, whether they came in to see me or Mary, I don't know. But I know that any town that they work for, all towns have a budget for paving. They don't just say, you can pave as much as you want, you know what I mean? So if he didn't hear me tell him the 235, then somehow he came up with that number of 307. So I'm not sure, you know, he said when I first called him on it, when we got the bill, and I told Leslie not to send it in to Mary to be paid, he said that he sent along with the bid a copy of the tonnage for the roads, and at that time he told me it was signed, which it wasn't. When he brought in a copy to Dean, that part of it wasn't signed. We did, Matt signed the agreement for the 57.90
Per ton,
per
right.
ton, and that was the only thing that was signed.
So it's a $72,000 difference between your budget and the product they laid down. You had a comment about that, Mary, or? Okay, yeah.
So, this is a copy of a request for paving bid, which I don't know, it obviously is not the one that went out, but part of this document is underlined saying, include the total budget in either the request for the bids or the contract, parentheses, i.e. not to exceed. So it didn't go in the request for bids, and the contract that you all signed says nothing except $57.90 a ton,
Right.
and that one invoice will be submitted and be paid. That contract is a contract that I came up with for the senior center, the recreation committee, for us to use in order to pay those instructors and fulfill the document request for VLCT, to prove that they're independent contractors, blah, blah, blah. It's nothing that I can't imagine why it would be used for the paving. And you signed it. So, I mean, honestly, Pike could have put down 3 times as much amount of asphalt as they did. And he signed the contract, you signed the contract, nobody said anything about not to exceed. I think that it went a lot smoother with never over the budget mistake like this, when Junior, who knows all about paving and is our road commissioner, is in charge of this process. And he surely would have told the person that's bidding that it's not to exceed $235,000. You guys didn't look at anything, and you didn't question anything, and you signed it, and you took the process away from the person that is your expert.
Junior did tell what the maximum was, but he denies being told that. It's not in the agreement. And from now on, I'm sure it will be. But the corollary applies with them. They have a budget that they presented that says confirmed by and accepted by. And accepted by is blank. They never presented their budget to the town.
You didn't ask for it.
Well, nowhere in the request.
We don't ask for lots of things. We didn't ask what kind of cars they're driving either.
Why
Anybody
is this-
that's gonna go do a per ton price
Why is
and
this-
assume that they have a blank check to go pave whatever they feel like is crazy.
Why is it sitting like this and never given out?
I have no
Not
idea what
to
that
exceed.
is.
This was
Okay, so,
going to be, look like a cover sheet for the request for bid. Which is where the problem lies, is that in the request for bid, there was no maximum amount set. And that cover sheet would have worked, but it was never used.
okay, agreed. Shame on us, we just learned a lesson.
Costly money.
They delivered product between Junior and Pike, or us, I guess you could say. We signed off on the tonnage, cost per ton. The product was delivered. When we didn't have a written budget price, them to us or thus to them. We got theirs after the fact with the invoice. So product has been delivered. We tried to negotiate with Pike. They talked to their supervisor. and they're demanding payment.
Well, we haven't heard from their supervisor.
No, we heard from the representative who claims he talked to the supervisor.
You want to talk to the supervisor, right?
So how would you guys like to leave this?
Junior, you gonna talk to the supervisor?
Well, I think, I think we should pay it. Just because they did do a good job. One part is all my fault as far as not checking the slips. I just went by, I talked to Mike two or three different times, and I talked to the job foreman, to make sure that we were on target, and every time I talked to them, they said yes, so I didn't go and add up the slips to see if we were over or not, so that part is all my fault. But, the other thing that what I want in the future is when we do open the bids, I want like Dean or the select board to give me a copy of that. So then we would know that from now on going forward that we're all on the same page, and that they know that there's, all of them in the past 19 years, I've never had trouble with them, and Pike has done our pavings several times. We've never dealt with this Mike Mullen before. It's his first time dealing with Shaw, as far as I know, since I've been in. But we've never had trouble with any of the other ones as far as going over. I always tell them we have 235. Some years we have more if we get a grant, like we had a grant last year. So I think we should just pay it. They did, they did an excellent job, I think, as far as paving, compared to the last several times they paved for us. It wasn't as good.
What's the board, what do you think?
Piece of paper says the same thing as the RFP, and it says paving will take place on such roads at such thickness and at such times as the road commissioner shall designate. Now, where does that say that the select board is telling them where to pave? It lies with the road commissioner. So with the select board did not take the responsibility away from the, road commissioner.
Go ahead, Mo.
Instead of having this argument, why don't you just turn this back over to the road commissioner instead of running it through your administrator? He's never had a problem. This year, the administrator took over, and that's where this whole thing is.
I don't,
Well, but it's his job.
It's
I
not
agree.
taken away from him. It says here in black and white on the RFP
Nothing.
that it's the responsibility of the, I'll read it again. Paving will take place on such roads at such thicknesses and at such times as the road commissioner shall designate. It doesn't say that paving is going to be spec'd by the town administrator or handled by the town. It says road commissioner.
we didn't take anything away from the road commissioner.
I thought Dean was the one that sent out.
No, all we did was, he sent out the RFP, we approved the tonnage, and we signed off on the tonnage price. End of our involvement.
And you didn't give any of the bid documents to your road commissioner.
Did you have the bid document for the tonnage?
No.
Did you know what the price was per ton?
I knew what the price was per ton that night when you opened them and read them off, but I never saw any of them. And that's what I said I want to see in the future, because, I know Dean is saying that we didn't get the other paper that
Right.
Mike said we did get. So I don't know, because I didn't receive any of that.
Well, we reviewed
Well, we
the,
opened them one night, and then Dean gave us a rundown of them for the next meeting,
No, we decided that night,
didn't we?
we decided that night,
yes.
we had the opening of the letter on VCAM. There was one piece of paper from Pike. We looked at it and we announced what their per ton. There was the second piece of paper that has their budget was not included, nor signed by us. I think we should pay the bill, and we've got a lesson learned here. I don't think anybody took anything away from Junior. We didn't document a budget.
No.
They didn't document to us their plan.
And Junior didn't get copies. That was probably the biggest.
Well, that's a per ton that was one number.
Well, that,
When Lane read them off,
Right.
I wrote them down per ton for each of the ones, so because I usually call all of the others and tell them what the prices were, just as a courtesy call. So I got that, I just didn't get their actual paperwork to see, so I never got a
Double
tonnage.
check or
I never got a
confirm.
tonnage sheet. Usually I get a tonnage sheet, like when DNF does it, they give me a tonnage sheet of how many tons each particular road is gonna get. I didn't get that. Now, Mike Murray there said that he gave that to us, which I don't think he did. I never saw it for sure, but he did present it at that meeting to Dean and us that he had it. And he said that's what he was going off from. But none of us ever saw it.
So what's the desire of the board?
pay it.
Hmm?
Pay it.
That's right. I
Learn
think-
from it.
I don't think we have any choice. I think we received product and we've learned a lesson. And use what's the fund, the carryover fund?
I have a reserve fund.
Reserve fund?
That, I don't have enough in the reserve fund, but I think there'll be enough left in this year's budget to take care of it, so it
Okay.
shouldn't have to be a increase to the town.
And will that help you with paving next year? What got paved?
Well, what helped me? No, not
The
really.
money at all?
It's, we were gonna pave, if we didn't have the money, we wouldn't have paved as much, and if I was on the ball and added up the slips, then we wouldn't have Churchill wouldn't have been paved.
I see. It is really lovely. The roads
Oh,
are
it's-
really
it's
nice.
Yeah.
It's gonna be really nice.
Fritz, would you like to make a motion just for the record to, of the select board approving the 307?
Sure, I'd rather not, though. I'll
You
let
would
somebody
rather-
else do it.
Well, then I'll make the motion to pay the difference for the
Pay the full
paving.
invoice.
Pay the full invoice.
It's 307, 407,
70.
70 cents.
Yeah, I got it right here. If you want
Thank you.
to read that number.
307, 407, 70 cents.
Is that motion seconded? Pike Industries. Is that motion seconded?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Any nays?
Nay.
And you?
Aye.
You yay or nay?
Yay.
Okay, 3 yays and 1 nay. Okay, moving on.
I actually was, the flag out here in front of Town Hall is ripped. And it needs, is it being replaced sometime soon? Okay, good. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Another thing to bring up, our state police contract that we approved at the last meeting was given to us by Lieutenant Bob Lucas. And he called Dean, he called me, Dean wasn't in. He gave us last year's rates. So last year's rates were $67.22 an hour. The correct rates are $68.17 an hour. So it's an increase of about 90 cents, it looks like. I suggest there are different options. You could reduce the hours, or you can approve the correct rates, and we still have 8.5 hours per week. And generally, they've underrun our budget of 30,000 anyway. So I'm suggesting that we make a motion to approve the rate and authorize the chair to sign the document.
I'll make that motion.
Sure.
Okay? The new one is here. This is the old one.
Are we gonna still limit it to $30,000, right?
Well, it goes over 30. That extended because out of $100, how much more than 30s?
$131.
I think we just let it go.
I think we can probably absorb $131.
Right.
So I guess it would be a motion to approve the state police rate for the fiscal year July 18 to July 19 at $68.17 per hour,
And authorize the chair to sign.
and authorize the chair to sign.
Okay. Is that seconded?
$68.17.
That's been seconded. Any further comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. One more update. We discussed this at the last meeting. I invited, and Dean put out an email, or either he did or I did. I invited Bob Lucas to come. He wanted to come and visit Charlotte. We suggested a time, so it's 28 June at 4 o'clock. It's this Thursday. He's going to be here. Select Board, we're invited to come if you'd like. Tom Tiller, the resident who had people on his property and it was a delayed response from the state police, is going to join that meeting. If any of you guys would like to join it, you can. If it's more than 3 of us, we can warn it. It'll probably be 1 hour just talking to Lieutenant Lucas. He's the head of the Williston Barracks. I asked him to bring data on property issues they've had. Most of their work is speed control, road safety, and we're just trying to find out if there's something we should be more aware of for property. Should we do things differently? So he's just going to come down and talk to us Thursday at 4 o'clock.
I'll be out of town, so.
Okay. I'd like Matt here. He's our representative, and he's been invited, but I haven't heard from him. So that meeting will go on. It's just information for you.
Okay.
That's all I have for updates. Anybody else have anything else? Is anybody here for the computer network support server? I'm suggesting we delay that. It's an opening of bids, and we can, since we're not holding anybody up, we could do the 720 item and then hear about the library because we're a little bit behind schedule. Is that okay with you, to delay the opening of the
Agenda, are you on? Where do you see computer?
June 25th? It says opening 7:15, opening proposals, computer network support, and replacement of service.
Our 7:15 agenda says Lake Champlain Open Water Fund.
I can't help it.
So apparently there's a new agenda that you didn't get.
So-
Might have been a preliminary,
We're not going to make a decision on it. All we're going to do is open it.
yeah.
Okay, so we'll delay that, and so people that are waiting, they can talk. So, Lake Champlain Open Water Swim, I recognize you from the previous year. Christopher, right, or Christoph? Christoph.
Sure, Lissarrague, 1 G.
You want to just summarize quickly the,
Sure. So this is the 4th year that we're organizing a swim across Lake Champlain, and it starts in Essex, New York, at the Old Dock Restaurant. This year is going to be on Saturday, August 18th. I've got the little flyer. If you want to have somebody, I'll bring it to you. So you know. And so I'm here to, and then the swimmers swim to Charlotte Beach. So I'm here to ask authorization to be able to use your beach for the landing of the event. It's a small event. It's just all volunteer run. It's not a, and we'll have probably 30, maybe 40 swimmers crossing the lake. They start at 9:30, and the first one will probably land around 11, and then it spreads over an hour or so until 12:30 or so. We do a little ceremony, we give some awards to the winners at 1, We give them a little coffee or a little fruit, whatever, just to, and then we take care of all that. There's no sellers, there's no commercial anything. It's just basically, and then we're done by 2, and that's about it.
And Rob Mullen from Fire and Rescue has signed off on your safety plan.
I believe so, yeah.
You've signed the form, the application for town facilities.
Yeah.
There was a later one that came in signed. I have a note from Dean that it might be in my file that it came in signed.
So how did it go last year? Quite honestly, I haven't heard a thing about it, so.
Last year was great.
Great.
The previous 3 years to last year we did in September, which was an issue sometimes with the weather. Sometimes in September it gets kind of windy, and so we had some problem with that. Not that it affects Charlotte or anything, just going on. But last year was in August, and the weather was just like today. It was a beautiful day, and everybody really enjoyed it. So it was great.
Last year, there was a person that refused to get out of the water when he went over the maximum time. Is that correct?
That's right, yeah.
Do you have a plan to handle that so they don't keep all of the people there just because one guy doesn't feel like playing by the rules?
Yeah, we discussed it with the St. George, and the Coast Guards are involved, and they said we'll just take care of that last person. I mean, he was a slow swimmer, got tired, but he was fine, and he was a couple of 100 yards out, and we have people also involved with boats and kayakers, and we took care of him, but they felt like the rescue agencies felt like that was their responsibility to stay, like he created a bit of a problem with that. So this year they say at 1 o'clock they'll take off, and I think they'll be fine. That was kind of a particular example. I don't think the guy was quite ready to do it.
Christian?
I just have a question. Has anybody talked to Nicole, the recreation director, or Bill Fraser Harris about this?
Well, Bill's
Normally,
been
one
here
of the-
before.
Normally, one of the two of them is here to say that they're okay with it, and I'm just wondering if there's any reference in your notes about the rec director who handles all the beach stuff, or the rec commissioner giving their okay. I'm pretty sure the rec director didn't know about it.
Yeah, the previous years, Bill Fraser was involved with it, and he was really here at the meeting as well, and so I don't know if he is or not. Most of the conversation has been with the fire department, but I can certainly mention it to him and make sure he knows about it, and that everybody's okay with it.
The rec director should probably know about it. She's got beach kids down there and stuff like that she has to plan for.
So
yeah.
we'll inform him. You're right. I don't know why. Bill is normally here.
And how many volunteers and including rescue departments that are involved? How many?
Well, there's the people that we provide, the organization. It's all volunteer. They're basically all friends. I'm part of the swimmer group, so it's whoever we know. So we're about, I would say, 10 people, both for the registering over there, and some people on a couple of people on this side, and then we have people on boats as well. We have probably have 20 or 22 kayaks that we provide just to escort all the swimmers, and we provide probably like 6 boats. So we'll have 3 sailboats and 3 or 4 motorboats, and that's what we provide the organization, the sponsor of the race. And then of course in terms of the official, we have in the past we've had rescue agencies from Charlotte, Shelburne, I think Virgins is in. We'll have a boat from Keysville, New York, and also the state of Vermont Marine Division will provide probably 2 to 3 boats. So and then the Coast Guards also provide, I think at least a couple of boats, if not 3. Their role has been in the past more like to control traffic, make sure there's some fast boats. So this is because actually we organize this because it's actually not legal to swim across Lake Champlain for a swimmer by himself or herself for safety reasons. So even though it's just a great thing to do and it's very tempting, we felt like the need to organize this so people can do it in a safe environment. So the idea is protecting them, and so that's what the Coast Guards do, just make sure there's no traffic coming on to the swimmers. And then the other agencies more in case some swimmer can't make it, so they're there. And we're providing EMT and a doctor and all that. Most swimmers we try to I asked for this particular event, because the swim is pretty long, it's 3.7 miles, so obviously it's a bit of a challenge. So I select swimmers, I ask them to show me that they have done either a long swim or they have done, kind of a long distance swim with a coach or a swim pool. I'm trying to avoid everybody's trying to impress his girlfriend or something, an 18-year-old, and say, oh, I can do this, and then we end up with, even though once in a while, like last year, we had that fellow, he was kind of a challenge to himself, and he decided he wanted to get in shape or lose weight or both or whatever, and that was a bit too much for him. But otherwise, we have had pretty much all very good swimmers with no real problems so far.
I think we should check with Nicole to make sure.
Why don't we, since we're
Sorry.
current on it, why don't we say pending Recreation Department approval? So we can have a motion, vote on it, and then get their concurrence. Someone like to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the Lake Champlain open water swim, subject to approval from the Charlotte Recreation Department.
Second.
You want to put the date down? Is it 8/18?
Where is it?
Yeah.
Date of event 8/18. Okay, that's been seconded.
Yep.
Any further discussion?
Have you got all of the confirmation from all the different agencies that they'll be present?
So that's in the process. I've had the one I mentioned, the Virgins, Charlotte, Shelburne, and Keysville are on, and the Vermont State Police as well. They're on. I've got messages. Sometimes it's not easy to reach them. It's just an answering machine. So I've made several calls. I actually gave a report to Dick St. George this morning, but where I was at. I'm waiting to hear from Mounds Bay, possibly Ferrisburg, and I'll just keep checking with him to see if sometimes they just connect directly because he's somewhat in charge of that part of things. So I'll keep checking on them and report to him.
So I guess that approval is subject to, I mean, those are the conditions of the race. So I guess if they don't all reply, then what is well, it would be good to have all those confirmations before we approve it, but
We'll
we
make
don't.
it pending those approvals.
Yeah.
Recreation and the other
And,
safety.
Yeah, and confirmation of the, I guess you would say assets required as the,
You'll keep either Rob Mullen or Dean, and then we'll know.
Yeah.
I'll send an email to Bill and/or Nicole for that.
Okay.
Will you use this at the firehouse for training that day? How's that work? Or do
oh,
you just do that?
that's
as a
not training, that'll be
Truly.
the people that are trained to be on the boat.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Okay, it's unanimous.
The only other thing I think is when we're doing these, I think this application could probably be updated and put in some kind of confirmation from, I mean, they're clicking the location, Town Beach, Senior Center, Town Hall. They should get some approval from one of those places if they're going to use them. If they're going to use the Town Beach, they should get Nicole. If they're going to use the Senior Center, they should get the Senior Center approval. And if they're going to use the Town Hall, they should at least get the town clerk's approval at the minimum.
Okay.
And it says other, and it could be, and it's some other, wherever it is. I mean, if they're going to use some other town facility, like the Wildlife Park Refuge, it could be them that give the approval.
So it'd be like the fire department line, but there's a signature required
Right,
on future.
same thing.
Signature.
That's a good idea.
Okay. Thank you, that's good. Library ready to give us a little discussion? Want to move up or? Okay. Good evening, Margaret.
You all know Jonathan, chair of the...
Hello.
Hi, Jonathan.
What's Jonathan's last name?
Silverman.
Sorry, I should have made it more formal.
That's it.
Apologize. So, yeah, we're here to give you a brief update about the proposed library addition. If any of you have been in there recently, you know it's crowded space. In the past month, we've moved furniture 8 times to have programs. So one of the goals is to have a program space that is dedicated for that use. Won't get in the way of people wanting to use the library to read and look for books and do research, and also provide a space where, kids could make a mess or adults could make a mess, depending on what the program is. We also have a demonstrated need for a bigger children's room, and the addition would allow for that, as well as room for increasing our collections. There continues to be, despite ebooks and iPhones and everything else, books remain the most popular media for getting information in the country and certainly in Charlotte. So we need more space for books, which is a good thing, I think, and people continue to check them out. In addition to those sort of more traditional uses, we also have increasing use of the library as a workspace, sort of a co-working space. We have at least 3 people who come in on a regular basis, and that is their work, their office. They do their business there. They get out their computer, they use our printer, they get some coffee, and they sit down and work. And we're also having increasing requests for tutoring and mentoring to happen at the library, so it would be nice to have some dedicated space for that as well. There are days when we're somebody's in this tiny little room at the back, and Cheryl's doing story time, and Susanna's doing a program out front, and someone else needs help with a laptop. It's fun and lively, but it might not be the most workable way to do things. As is stated in our mission statement and our strategic plan, we're dedicated to lifelong learning, so we continue to look to increase program offerings based on community need, requests, and desires. So that's where we are right now. We feel like we've that's our vision. We hope that it will be successful. I think Fritz told you at a previous meeting that the Friends of Library conducted a feasibility study, and we had a very positive response to that. So we feel like it's okay to start moving forward with.
So what are the next steps?
We are in the very preliminary phase of, so just beginning to look at some fundraising, a fundraising campaign, and we hope to start that later this summer. So we don't really have.
So is your vision that you would, as far as the fundraising and the cost of the project, raise a percentage and then ask the town to bond the other percent?
And that was one of the outcomes of the feasibility study as well, that they felt it would be good to have some community backing, sort of solid community backing for the project, as well as privately raised donations.
Will we get to see the feasibility study?
I can give you the exact, I didn't bring that with me. I do have some fun papers if you want to see them.
I've never seen the results of a feasibility study, and when you brought it up, I'd love to see what that's all about.
Interesting and
I bet it is.
eye-opening.
Yes, I'm sure it is. That's why I'd love
exercise.
to look at it.
So yeah, I did not bring that with me. It is 30-odd pages long, so.
Okay,
But
I'll
you'd be
figure out how
welcome
to get
come
that.
by and take a look at it.
Is it your vision that you'd be in a position that we would vote on at this town meeting, or are you looking further out in time, or does it depend?
I think it depends. I think we're slowly starting to put a calendar together. I'm hesitant to say anything now because I don't
really have those details. I don't think we quite have those together.
Christina?
Yeah, I was curious about the feasibility study, because the last meeting I attended, that was gonna be part of it, and you'd figure out kind of what the community want, need, and
Yep.
possibility of, contributing a little bit. My question about we start to get into the purchasing policy and, all of that. You guys picked an architect, none of that expense has come to the town. How does the next steps go when you're thinking about your heating system and all of that? Because I know there was a pretty high-end heating system that was gonna go in there, but in the same sense, if you went with something more conventional, it'd be a lot less cost. And granted, the purchasing policy is you want 3 quotes, but how do you justify to the taxpayers, me being one of them, to have, yes, it's gonna be energy efficient and the whole 9 yards, but it's going to be expensive. And to bond for part of that when we're already obviously dealing with a lot of turmoil in the state government and property taxes and education taxes, it's very tough to look at your plan and think that there might have been a good option versus the best option, I guess is kind of where I'm at. We're going over our computer system and we wanted a good, best, and better choice for our server. You guys picked an architect, you picked everything you wanted. That seems to me that it's more like the absolute best pick of your want list. Is there a possibility of toning down some of those things to be less expensive in the grand scheme of things?
Well, I guess you're way out of my realm of expertise there. I know nothing about architects. I know nothing about building. I know that there was, and we've been working with the Energy Committee, and there is a strong push from them to make this a very energy efficient building. So yes, that speaks to, at the time, a more expensive heating system that one hopes would then, over time, pay for itself. We are looking to have solar panels put in on the part of the building, and it looks like we would offset the cost of increased systems with the energy generated by the solar panels. That is my very rough estimate, so don't quote me on anything. Again, I'm way out of my realm of expertise. I can appreciate your comments, and I think one of the reasons why, we did the feasibility study, and one of the reasons why we look for community feedback is it is a community space, and we certainly want everybody to feel like it's worth their while to help support that effort. But I don't know about what kinds of systems might be better than other kinds of systems. I can't speak to that. I'd be happy to check with the architect. And as far as if your point goes to sort of on down the line, of course everything is going to have to go through the purchasing policy. And I think, before any money is spent, we're going to make sure that that is all, meets the standards of all of that, of those regulations.
I recommended in one of the meetings, since I'm the liaison, that at the point in time when there's actually suitable documents to send out to bid, that also be sent out for what I believe they call it cost engineering. Certain individuals or certain people can look through stuff and say, well, and do exactly what you're asking. To say, yes, this is this, but this is going to be cheaper. And I don't know of anybody, I think, I know some people that do that, but just for their particular trade.
Well, I'd be interested in the feasibility study, just to review that, just to see kind of how that all played out.
Yep.
Because I think that you can't rely on the architect to know what is best for all of the things that are involved with the building.
Right, and that's kind of what I was getting at, is when do you start getting the people that are best, we have a gentleman here who, owns Patterson Fuels, and, he gives us one heck of a deal on fuel oil, which I don't think is gonna be really over there, but when do you start to utilize some of the people to find, the most cost-effective heating system, or, this and that, to try to...
That point is gonna be probably at the time it goes out to bid, and perhaps to some of the people that bid it. You ask them, while you're bidding at this, if you can recommend
So you go by the architect's specs for what type of unit's gonna go in, and then you,
And then ask for recommendations to save money. And, you know, somebody, not only your contractors, you have to start with the spec. And everybody says, I'm gonna spend this much money to do this, but if you decide to use this air conditioner instead, you're gonna save blank amount of money. Or you can also send it to consultants who review things and say that, well, if you use this structural system, it may be, you may save money as opposed to doing it the way that.
And I think, you know, I'm new to all of this, so, but it's my understanding that before we could even get started with anything, we had to have a plan. So we had to have an architect, and Friends very generously, along with some grant funding we got, which was very nice. That enabled us to have an architect develop a plan so we could even have it. Here's a rough idea, and if you would like to see it, it's here. I can show it to you.
oh, I went to the meeting.
Here's a rough idea of what it looks like. None of that is, I mean, obviously, none of it's set in stone. We don't have anything yet. So I think everything's, you know, I think our hope is, and we had to give him some idea of what we were looking for.
Did you ever work out the parking spaces?
It is my understanding that has worked out. We worked out something with the Children's Center, and I've been told that between that and the town hall parking spaces that we will be fine. I don't know. Again,
But that's in the feasibility study? Or who
Parking
told
was-
you that, about the parking?
well, I spoke with Daryl here at Town Hall, and then we have worked out an agreement with the Children's Center for overflow. So we'll share parking. They have sometimes early in the morning before we're open, they have family events there. And they actually always park in our parking lot. It doesn't really matter, but we thought, well, why not make this a more formal agreement? And then at the same time, we have an evening program on a day when there's a, you know, a meeting here that's very popular. We can use their parking spaces in the evening when they're not open. So that's
We've
our.
asked the county to give us some assistance in creating a parking plan for downtown Charlotte, if that's what you want to call it.
And Aaron has some experience, the zoning administrator. Remember, he had some experience with that.
So I think that's an overall issue with, I mean, it's part of the
I just
town
wondered if
plan
there was
where
any-
you're going to create things to do here, that parking has to go along with it. So whether it becomes municipal parking that can be a cash source, or whether you require the people doing the improvements to pay for it.
And I just wondered if something like that is addressed in a feasibility study.
I think it's everything. I mean, it's a pretty comprehensive, yeah, so I'm, I
And
didn't
is
do
there
the
any,
feasibility study, so I don't know.
Yeah, is there a second level? Is there a, because we went upstairs to where your
Right,
office is.
right.
Can that be brought all the way across the whole library? I couldn't remember that. I was thinking about that.
I think John
This one.
addressed that at the meeting you all, because you had asked about that as well. And I think what he said was, at this point, the costs that would be incurred to, you would have to put in an elevator and a sprinkler system and some other sort of more substantial,
You go 2 floors on a public building
right.
and the
Right now, what we
price goes
have is a
way up.
mezzanine, and so it doesn't count as a second floor. But what the architect did said is that it would be, in the event that at some point you do want to add a second floor, that would be ready to, the building would be built so that you could add a second floor on without, it wouldn't be free, but you could.
So what do you think, what's your next event that you'll come back to us? I mean, kicking off the feasibility, or the actual request for money, or, I mean, when will we hear from you again?
Oh, that's a good question. I guess we're happy to come and give you an update.
Maybe every 6 weeks then or something, or?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that the news would be any different than it is tonight, but I could certainly check on the feasibility study, and I could, you know, look into cost engineering and some of those things, if that would be useful information for you all to have.
I quite frankly wouldn't see this going, me personally, on town meeting 2019. Here we are, almost the middle of summer, and I think that we just need to, there's gonna be too many questions to have it ready for 2019.
Okay, well,
Just-
that's good
that's
feedback
my
to have, yeah, yeah.
Opinion. You show me something different,
Yeah.
and maybe so, but it's just, everybody's so darn busy, and a lot of things have to, drawings, this and that, all have to be done, feasibility study has to be read, the whole,
So it might make sense if you saw the feasibility that we would come back and you'd have questions from that study and be able to address that.
Okay. That
Does that
sounds
make
like a
sense?
good, yeah, we can give you some information, you can take a look at it, and then we can, to the best, I mean, it might. I don't-
well, in Dean's, report here to us, it said the library will update the select board on the proposed addition and take questions. And I thought, well, I don't have a lot of questions at the moment until I see
Sure.
the feasibility of it all, and I certainly understand your need to grow and all that, but I am curious just from the get-go.
Well, and I think that's the big, I mean, to speak to what Christina said too,
Exactly.
it's, we want this to be a community space, and we want it to be supported by the community in whatever way the community can support it. So it's, I think that
There's
the
another reason why-
feasibility seems to
Yeah.
demonstrate that people feel that there is a need to increase the size of the library. And so we hope that is the case, because we certainly feel that every day.
Right.
We'll stand by then.
Okay?
Thank you,
All right, I'll get
Jonathan and
back to you.
Margaret.
Thank you. Oh, do you want any handouts?
Do you have a stand, the handout is,
I've got a sort of a fact sheet about the library, and I've got a copy of the current
the proposed plan?
proposed sketch. So,
Do you want one of those?
Sure.
let me see, where did my fact sheet go?
Right.
There, if you want to hand those
I
out.
understand all the needs, why you need it.
Well, that's
That part I-
what the community came back with.
I do remember the comment from the guys that were putting the roof on that said, this is a really busy library. In particular, when they're working right over the door.
Yes.
Oh, but how come there was such that ice jam right by the door on the
No,
north
it wasn't
side?
properly insulated.
We'll give you updated information as soon as we've got it.
Thank you.
Are we all set?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Margaret. Let's do the approved pay rates and hours for employees. So
I've got lots of paperwork on this subject.
So for tonight, what we'd like to do, since July 1st is the start of our fiscal year, tonight what we'd like to do is have an agreement on the pay for the employees starting July 1st. Many of the other questions that have come up through Mary's emails and the minimum wage issue, we'd like to save that for 2 weeks from now, and we'll have the policy in front of us, and we can see if changes or actions need to be taken. So tonight, I'm suggesting all we do is approve the pay rates for July 1st. And I'm under the impression that you and Dean are in agreement. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to clarify that the first payroll in July really covers the last 2 weeks in June, so I will not be making any changes to the pay rates on July 1st. It will be the second payroll,
Okay.
because it's June payroll.
I mean, are you okay to approve this that's in front of us? Okay. And this will be what you'll enter for each employee your first payday of the new year. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the, what are the words we use here? The
Proposed pay rate.
proposed pay rates for the employees starting the July 1st of the new fiscal year. Is there a motion?
Can you include hours in that motion too? Because one
Sure.
person's hours are changing.
There's a s-
Actually, two people, right?
But it's on the spreadsheet that's in the packet, right?
Right. Yes,
Okay.
3 people's hours are changing, so
You
you want to
make-
make sure to include
So-
hours in that
If you
motion.
make the motion, make it in accordance with that spreadsheet then.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed pay rates and hours for the fiscal year 19 as presented on this document without a date, but part of the packet. So if I'm referring to it, it's titled Proposed Pay Rates and Hours for Fiscal Year 19.
Okay. Is that seconded?
Second.
Okay. Are there any discussions on this? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So we'll have a more comprehensive discussion on the various issues for the next, and it's scheduled for the July 9th meeting.
And is that scheduled like an early hour at 6 o'clock?
Let me see, it's on the
or-
agenda. The agenda has been released, and I have it here someplace.
Yeah, I do too.
Just find it, and it might be in my bag. I think it's early, and I think it might be a half hour, I don't know.
7:45,
7:45?
Oh,
Salary Administration Amendment for Minimum Wage.
Okay.
no, wait.
Do you have the, I don't have.
Can't that be
This
a
is the
6
ninth.
o'clock meeting?
6 o'clock is
We're
the
doing
Charlotte
affordable
Housing
housing.
Trust Fund Grant
Right.
Program.
Oh.
Oh,
And
here it
then,
is.
Here's the one.
I guess I don't have it with me.
We're doing 1 hour like we did with the ordinance on Lane's Lane. We're going to do an hour every couple of meetings, every meeting on the housing, affordable housing. And then we're going to go right into the, I see, we're going to have a review of the park and wildlife, and then we do the salary administration, 8:45.
Well, I think that salary should come before the park and wildlife. The salary administration while we're fresher. I would think, and 8:20 for trails, yeah. I don't know, we could talk about that another time, but.
Okay, this has been warned. Dean gets back the day before, so this has been warned. I mean, we could have a public, we'd have to let Parks and Wildlife know if we wanted to change them, but
I mean, because they like to take a little time, there's quite a bit too that, in the packet about what they want, so we should look at that.
okay.
Have somebody change it, right? You can
I
change it.
suspect it's going to be that there's
That's a big meeting right there.
unemployment is low, minimum wage is going up, so everything's going to look low. If economies work the way they normally do.
Okay, water operator proposals, so that's in our packet. And we wanted to know, I think Christina brought up some questions on the beach. My memory tells me that, if I can find it, that Christina was going to do the beach. Nicole, excuse me. And Lincoln Applied Laboratory was low bidder on the town hall and the library. So I think we've answered your questions. And is there a motion to contract with Lincoln Applied Laboratory for town hall and library?
You haven't answered the question.
Yes.
Well, because if Nicole can do the beach, how come we gotta pay someone to do town hall?
It's a different, I think
Different
it's
kind
a
of
different
system.
license, different grade.
This one has all the
So what does
UV.
the senior center have over there in theirs? Do they have a big water system? Because they have someone over there that does it fairly reasonable and it's just a senior center board member. Just curious.
I think it's probably Gary, and I think he got certified.
It's Carl, and he's doing the
It's
same.
Carl?
It's the same certification Nicole sent in for, I believe.
Yeah, it's the class 1 and or whatever it is.
Can Carl do over here? What do they do over here?
Well, that's why I was wondering why we're having, I mean, we already have someone doing the Charlotte Senior Center. Now we're gonna have an employee doing the Charlotte Town Beach. Janine used to do here and the library, so why?
Must not take very much to
why are
get
we here?
certified.
I don't know, that's why I'm asking,
Check
why are we
into that.
here? Janine used to do it, and we already have someone who's stepping up to take care of the beach, and I'm just wondering why we have this expense.
Good question.
It is a great
So
question.
we can defer this again if you'd like. I
Yeah.
have some questions.
So it's either gonna be that someone can do that here, or the senior center has to pay more.
I'm just throwing it out there, I mean,
Yeah,
Janine used
no,
to do it, and Carl did the senior center, and Janine took care of the beach here and the library.
The state classifies what type of water system you have based on the people that use it, so I guess that's a question for them.
I believe there's a course you have to take online, but I don't think it's that.
Yeah, it depends on the equipment too, so I don't know what they have at the senior center. I've never seen theirs. It might just be a water softener, I don't know. Their well might have better quality water than the town's.
I just was curious, that's all.
Thank you for bringing that
Still
up.
hasn't really been answered, so I was wondering why it's not still part of the zoning administrator's job like it was before.
So do you guys want to defer it, or?
Yeah, I'd put it off till we found out exactly what we need.
Thank you.
Who would you call? I guess the state would have to answer that.
Or Carl, and Carl.
Well,
Probably got all.
yeah, it depends on the system and who uses it.
Okay.
You're gonna call the state?
The next item, this should just take a minute. The Sullivan and Power, this is the scope of work for this next year. Let's see who signed it, all of us or just one of us, or? You can do whatever you want. We can all sign it, or, so this is the Sullivan Power audit report for the new fiscal year. Or it's the year ending June 30th of this year to audit the year we're in right now. Is there a motion to approve? So it's the same standards of what we've done before. They gave us 3 years worth of pricing. The pricing is in here.
Does this pricing match our budget?
Yeah, because I think we had a 3-year proposal. What does Dean say in his notes? Oh, here it is. The base fee for the audit is $14,500. $15,000 was budgeted, so it's $500 below the budget.
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement with Sullivan Powers and Company for a financial audit of municipal accounts for FY18, year ending June 30th, 2018, and authorize the chair to sign it.
Is that seconded?
Second.
Any comments, questions? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Okay, so that's approved. Okay, now we'll go back to
Computer.
computer. So let's just see what the notes were to us. So there were no notes. I think all we're doing is opening these, and then interested parties can look at what's here. And then we'll make a decision at a later date. I think we're going multiple month with Conquest to continue, so we're not under any deadline per se. So the first proposal is from Open Approach. Proposal for computer network support and replacement server. No, I know there's going to be something simple. Well, here's the quote. This is going to have to take a fair amount of studying. Pricing provides information on our monthly managed services and support. So they have a lot of rates. Cabling engineer, $65 an hour. Help desk technician, $105 an hour. Desktop support engineer, $125. Network engineer, $145. Telecom engineer, $145. Systems engineer, $165. So now there's hardware quotes. There's a Dell system, then the software. So the Dell PowerEdge server, $6,490.92. Boy, there's going to be a lot of stuff to go through here. The software is $4,950. Correct that. The software is $3,485. Services are $4,950. Managed services, $1,685. And that's a one-time expense summary of $15,050.92. This is probably the meat of what we want. So for the hardware, the software that goes with it, $15,050.92, which I just said, and the managed services are $1,685. So that's probably what I should read in the others. Hardware, accompanying software, then recurring. Okay?
Let's see, these are open to the public now, huh?
Those documents are still right next to you that go in that envelope.
Say this is all part of it, right?
Look like under that.
That's part of it too?
I think so.
Oh, this is oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, it's a duplicate copy, it looks like. So that all goes, good. Okay, so that's their packet.
I believe if you actually look at them, one quote, only because I spoke to the guy, I
Yeah.
believe one quote is for the specific hardware that we requested.
Yep.
The other quote is their opinion on what we would need. They felt that the hardware we requested was a little bit of an overkill. And so he asked if he could submit a second hardware quote that was
Which one was that?
that guy. He
This guy
asked-
here?
Yeah, and I talked with Dean about it, and Dean says as long as he submitted the one quote that is apples to apples, and then if he felt that was overkill, he could submit the quote for,
So there's probably two quotes in there then, and
Yes.
I just read one of them.
yes.
So this is from TG Tech Group. Ferry Road, Charlotte. Oh, that's to us here. Where are they from? South Burlington. They're from South Burlington. Hardware and software is $11,565. Installation including migration with Nemrick says $3,000 to $4,000. Monthly fee for support desk, $800. Hourly rate not covered, $125 an hour. These are really going to have to be studied. So we've received 4 proposals. This is number 3. Vermont, Pangery? Panergy? Panergy. They're located in South Burlington. Proposal to us.
Where's SimQuest? No, but are they in, where's their office?
There's South Burlington also.
Okay, so this is their proposal. Monthly fees, $850. Hourly rate above and beyond, $105. Hardware, software for new server, $8,877. And total cost for installing, including migration with Nemrick, $3,360 to $6,615.
100%.
That's a big range.
It is. Panergy, okay. And the last one. SimQuest. SimQuest is located in South Burlington. Monthly fees, $693. Hourly rate not covered, $150 per hour. Hardware, software cost, $10,273. And installation, including migration with Nemrick, $10,800 to $13,500. So those are all the bids that were properly submitted. So, Mary and Christina, do you want to review these or take a look at them? These are the masters, the only ones, and
you're good hands.
and make comments. Ultimately, I guess, get them back.
Just keep them right on the counter. You guys can come in and order them anytime you want.
Okay.
Let's prepare that one. Thank you
Have
for
those
doing
guys
that,
talked to
though.
you, all 4 of
They
them?
did. The only one that didn't come in for the tour is the green, the open approach. He had a prior engagement and couldn't be here. And SimQuest didn't come in for the tour, the second tour. So really, we talked with Tech Group and Panergy when they came in.
So you can't tell me just by what I read. You got to kind of study it and look at it, I guess.
We have a good feel from asking questions to some of them too on.
I assume you can ask any questions you want of these guys as follow-up to satisfy yourselves. Cool.
Thank you for doing that.
Um,
Can we get a spreadsheet?
No, I'm not doing a spreadsheet.
So I have an executive session remaining that is requested by Fritz and minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of
Okay.
June 11th, 2018 as amended.
Okay,
Second?
second, okay.
Got it. I didn't have any problem.
People ready to vote? Okay. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. Aye. Do you expect any action to be taken after the executive session?
No, just, I move to go in executive session to discuss an issue that's been filed against the town.
Okay,
So would you call that litigation matters?
Yes,
matter of litigation.
Yeah.
Is that seconded?
I'll second.
Okay. Don't think there's anything else that's gonna come up. So, we're gonna come back, probably no action taken, and we'll adjourn. Huh? Well, we haven't heard I'm just trying to make things easier for, I mean, anything else is gonna be brought up before the board tonight?
Other than a motion to adjourn, no.
Okay, I do encourage you to meet Lieutenant Bob Lucas if you guys are available at 4 o'clock on Thursday. I think it would be nice to hear what he has to say. I think it'll be relaxed, be right here. Okay, so nothing other than to adjourn after executive session. Okay, let's move to executive session. No, we all vote on? All in favor of executive session? Okay.